Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. Nick Collier here, and I think let's go ahead and get back into this NASA project. We've got a couple things we need to do here. One is we're going to take this 8620, I believe it's 8620, it is, 1-inch rod, and we need to thread the end of it so we can get a bolt on that, or a nut on that, and so we can put the weights on it and have it bottom out on something. So what we're going to do is take this over to the lathe. We're going to set up some threading, unless of course I might actually have a die this size. I bought some bigger ones here a while back, and that would make it a lot easier. But we're going to thread the ends of this, and then go ahead and insert them into our drive shaft. So let's get started. And we're going to have we've got our rod, we've got it inside of the lathe, we've got it pretty well centered out. We're going to take 10/1000ths off of this, the end of this, to match up with the threads on the nut, and to square up this end of the lathe, or this end of the shaft. So we're all set up with the bit to thread, but we're going to set this up on the lathe part of the drive, and just take that 10/10 and clean that up. So let's get started. Until we touch. There's touch. Come off the end. We'll go in 5, and that'll take 10. No, we want to go 60. Okay, and then let's swing this back around and square it up. We're going to square it up using the little fishtail here. A little bit more. That looks pretty good. Square up. Okay, and we're sitting at 10 under, so I think we're ready to rock and roll here. All right, well, the next step in this process is to get the shaft into the pivot. But as you can see, the shaft is probably going to be just a little bit long. So we want to come up with something that's actually going to be a more consistent number. And let me go get a pen. So we're going to want to be about right there, which is about right there. So we need to cut that, what is that, 1/2 inch off. And let's come over to this other one. And I can see that I didn't get the threads far enough down. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. But I think what I want to do is take my shoulder down just a little further to get it good and strong, because we're going to put a fairly thick washer right in here, probably about that big, that's going to hold those weights in place. And here's the weights here. So they'll bottom out on that nut. The nut will hold, and we're going to drill a hole through here and put a clip, you know, in there so that it'll hold everything in place, and the nut won't unscrew. But well, I don't know. Do we need a washer? Hell, these things act as a pretty good washer, huh? Well, that's not too bad. Okay. So we're going to just snug that down and snug that down. And know that our other piece is going to be cut about right there also. So let's go over to the saw and cut these. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to press this shaft into this hole, right? And then we're going to come in and throw a weld bead around that to get that thing to strengthen up and not come out. Now, the other part of it is, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to put a gusset in here now that I remember. I think the gusset's going to hold it. I was going to drill a hole down through the center here and then come in behind it and drill and weld from the back side. But you know, I'm going to put this gusset in there, so I think we're going to be okay. So I think what we want to do now, I need to get the paint off of this so that I can weld this once I press it in. And then we'll go over to the press and press these babies in. Okay, we're ready to press. Let's get our piece in place here. Let me go get the other one. All right, we've got both of them pressed in place. I think at this point, we should make sure we're square and then cut our gussets for this part here, and we'll weld the whole thing. All right, well, we want to make a gusset to slide in this area here to kind of strengthen this up, keep it from going this way, and also keep it from sliding out, because there's going to be a lot of pressure against it. So we've taken a piece of plate, and there's no real way to grab that in the vise. So I've taken a C-clamp and just kind of clamped it kitty corner there. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see it pretty good. So we're just going to crank it and let it cut. All right, well, we got the gussets all prepped and they're ready to go in. And all we need to do is fire up the welder and tack in a couple of places, making sure that we're square and all those things. And everything looks pretty good. We'll tighten things up by just putting some tacks along the way here. All right, well, so when I first made this part here, we were going for 5 pound weights out on the end, which meant that they could have been like right in here, and still I could have put the support in there. Now we're going for a bunch of 5 pound weights, and they're going to be kind of sticking up a little bit. So I think this thing needs to be longer by about 3 or 4, maybe 5 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this off and bring it back and add a section to it, and see what we can do with that. And I'm going to use my handy dandy cutter. Pipe cutter, and that'll give us a nice straight line to work with. And let's see how we do. We're just going to keep going round and round here. Okay, Nick Collier here. It's the next day, and we're still trying to cut this piece of pipe. I think I've taken this thing around about, I don't know, 30 times, and we're almost there. I can feel it. All right, well, we're gonna just put a piece of wood in here. I mean, let's give it an extra inch, but we can just measure that. And this is going to want to sit up here about like that. So we're going to add, I'd say, a good 5 inches. Let's see, make sure here. Yep, 5 inches to that size there. So we'll go over and cut that piece of material. Okay, so we've cut our 5-inch chunk. Now we need to square off that end, and plug the lathe in. And you can see it's a little bit off. That's good enough. Got one side, and we do need to chamfer that, so let's around, do the same thing again. All right, let's take our cap and put it in and square that edge up, or that face. Well, we're going to need to stick out just a little further. Better. Spin this around. And we've got ourselves a square surface. This will go to that. We'll throw some welds on that, and we'll do the same thing to the bottom. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bit of a rough edge from there, from that the cutter. So what we're going to do is just take that rough edge off. All right, well, that's got us reasonably cleaned off with just a little bit of a burr that's still kind of sitting there. That looks pretty good. And I think it probably is going to be good to go ahead and chamfer this outside edge, and we'll just do that with the grinder. All right, so there we are, plenty of room, but we're going to drop this down a bit onto this this diameter and build a little collar for that so that it can clamp and stay good and tight. So we're going to be probably about there, and I'd say we're 3/4 of an inch or so. Oops, nope, we got to get in there. So we're a 1/2 inch, and a 1/2 inch is plenty of room, because all we need to be able to do is get this thing to swing underneath this, and that looks pretty good. So I think the next thing we're going to do is build this collar and these bearing housings. That bearing will go there. We need to build a fairly stout housing there and a good solid collar that's going to grip onto that, and then put a shaft in between that that's going to keep this thing from tweaking this way. All right, so I think we'll build those collars first, and we'll weld all of this stuff at the same time. All right, well, we found ourselves a piece of tubing, and you probably can't see it, but it's probably got about a 1/2 inch wall on it, which is perfect. So we're going to cut 2 segments out of that for the 2 bearings we need. And hey, let's just keep on cutting. Okay, Nick Collier here, and we've scavenged around and found a couple of pieces of thick wall tubing that's going to work perfect for the bearing. There's the bearing surface, and then we came up with a pretty heavy piece of, I think it's 8620, that's going to be able to house the nose cone here and allow us to cut it in half and put a couple of bolts through it so that it can clamp. So we'll set this part aside here, and we'll work on this piece first. All right, let's go. All right, so we're set up, ready to go. I'm going to slow that down a little bit because we're dealing with a high-speed bit here. It doesn't go as high speed as an insert. Okay, so we sharpened our bit. We've got just a little bit of a rake to it that way, and we'll be able to come in there and make a nice flush cut. Measuring the bearing, we've got it looks like 500, no, 550, 560, God. 555, some kind of metric, of course. So at 555, and what do we have here? We're sitting at 1,550, and this is 1,850. So. And 555, and we can go a little bit deeper. Let's go to 560. Where's that going to take us to? Just a bit past that little line right there. All right, we'll take our first run and then measure it. Right in there somewhere. Let's have a look. Just a little bit further. take a next cut. All right, well, we're down to about 5 thousandths or so. It's pretty hot, so we're going to let this chill out a little bit, come back, take a final measurement, and take our final cut. All right, well, we got about 1.5 thou play or tightness, so we'll just take this and press it down and call it a day with that.